Welcome back to Q Dads, guys. I'm Ben, and yes, I'm here hopefully explaining the ending of Dead Boy Detectives, Netflix's recent paranormal series, and I get to finally say, case closed. Now, of course, I will be touching on my favourite parts at the end, including those characters that made the show what it is, like Tragic Mick the Walrus, or those foul-mouthed dandelion sprites.
No fucking way to that side braid. What the fuck is that?
I actually like it.
Do you like it?
I do. It's really cute. Yeah. You and the rest of your Mormon sister wives will end fantastic brother husbands.
Oh, and of course, those moments that made me cringe, like a little bit of acting, or even that CGI as well.
First off, we need to know how to fight.
Oh, those freaky looking felines. So the final episode starts with Edwin and Charles saying goodbye to Crystal as she ventures to London with her newfound memories. But in a surprise twist, the tongue and tail butcher shop explodes and our dead boy detectives are captured by Esther the witch. Now, this is a great example of what the show does best for me. They deliver on so many of these moments throughout the series. Just as you get comfy and the scene becomes a little bit more relaxed, bam! Something weird and wonderful unexpectedly happens, grabbing your attention once again. I think that is something that makes this series. We learn from the Cat King the story of Lilith and how Esther gained her immortality, but at a price. Tragic Mick the Walrus then steps in to help, and I love how his name is just Magic Trick, but with the letters swapped. It's just so simple and just so clever. And, of course, I'm so glad that we finally got to see his side of the story of how he became a human. Here, he gives Nico a Lucky Charm bear, which, of course, I'll touch on just at the end. Edwin is strapped to a table, being tortured, so Esther can absorb more power, whilst Charles is chained in the kitchen. Now, Nico and Crystal come to the rescue. Nico jumps in the way of an enchanted dagger and presumably dies in the process. But I've got a little bit of a twist on that at the moment, so join me in just a few seconds. And Crystal calls on Lilith to take Esther away. All this happens at the same time as this disappointing battle between Charles and a giant snake. Now, we end the episode with Charles and Edwin heading back to London, and the woman shows up at the very end to take them to the Lost and Found department for processing, but are left off the hook by her superior, the principal. Now, this is where my interesting theory comes in. Now, bear in mind that I've not touched any of the comics at all, as here on Q Dads we only go by the TV only. When the principal says to Charles and Edwin the same phrase that Tragic Mick said to Nico, "You never know when the good you do may come back around," I ask myself this question: is this woman actually Nico? Now, when Nico died, she did get a second chance, and somehow, through some kind of time alteration, she's moved on to the afterlife and now works in the Lost and Found. She was very knowledgeable with the rules, and so was Nico, which also adds to my theory. And yes, although at the very end we saw Nico with the dandelion sprites in an igloo, this could be before her journey to the Lost and Found department. Is the igloo scene some kind of astral plane where, because of her bare lucky charm, she now has not fully moved on? Is this how later she becomes the principal? Or am I just overthinking it here and it's just a big coincidence? Now, whilst we're on Nico for a moment, one of the great details that I love is actually the first time we see her, she's wearing green, and that's because of the sprite's influence on her. And then later on, she's wearing blue in an episode when Jenny gets mad at her, so she's obviously feeling blue and a little bit upset. Then she's got the orange that represents the whole moment in the scene between her and the night nurse. And of course, the night nurse's hair is red and her colour scheme is also orange. And I think this is because her real superpower is all about her sensitivity and a greater understanding of love and other emotions. Now also, another great detail that the show did was that Death is actually played by the same actress in Neil Gaiman's other show, Sandman, where she also played Death as well, connecting the universe. This was actually pointed out to me by one of the comments on our episode 1 Explained by Carol Briscoe. So got to give credit where credit's due. A couple of other great characters are, of course, the dandelion sprites, who, with their fell-mouth attitudes, absolutely crack me up. And actually, they bring a little bit of lovely humour into the show. Tragic Mick, he is another one, with his helping, caring walrus soul that makes me appreciate this character right from the offset. Plus the fact that all walruses derive from some goddess's giant thumb is just mental. And of course, I've got to talk about the Cat King. Now, yes, at times he was annoying with his cringe-worthy behaviour and unusual selection of outfits. But you know what? His uniqueness of being able to cast magic and transform and even have multiple lives was brilliant to see. And I think he actually made a few of the scenes for me. Following on from this is now that time for a little bit of a rant and a little bit of a moan. Oh yes, that's right. And we're going to start it off with those cats. The CGI cats were just awful. But, of course, not as bad as the 2019 musical remake though. But these cringeworthy scenes, and those as well, like the group sitting on top of the building, or the fact that they walk through walls and mirrors, just for me, wasn't up to standard. The visual effects, I think, have really been let down, and Netflix have dropped the ball on this one. And also, the acting at times was just unusual. Now, I know the main characters were meant to be 16 years old, and of course, they're played by actors who are probably in their 20s, but I felt at times uncomfortable, knowing that this type of dialogue just didn't quite fit. A little bit Disney at times, if I say so myself. It just wasn't quite up, again, to that usual standard that I'd expect. And of course, the last point I want to touch on is the snake fight in the final episode. Oh my god, where do I start? Now, I was hoping for a few slashes and a bit of a tussle. We got a snake that popped like a balloon to a pin when Charles tapped it with a sword. A very disappointing scene. A big build-up throughout the series as well. Lots of mentions of this snake. But yet, right at the end, in those last few moments, within seconds, it's over. And I just feel like that scene was a little bit deflated and could have been emphasised a lot more. But overall, the series was great. I think it's very unique, and there's so much has changed in an episode to suddenly pick you up off the sofa and make you overlook the flaws of the show. Now, would I recommend this? Do you know what? I think the concept alone is strong enough to hold the show, in my opinion. And I think for that reason, I probably would recommend it. But of course, it's not about me. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on the series. Do you think that Nico is the principal? And what new cases will the detective boys get moving forward, especially now they have a new chaperone? Don't forget to like and subscribe, as we're only a few days away from covering Apple TV's next series, Dark Matter. And as always, I'll catch you next time with something new.